Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking into a truly persistent mystery, the disappearance of Amy Bradley. It's been nearly 3 decades, but a new Netflix docuseries, Amy Bradley is Missing, has brought it right back into focus. That's going to be our main source today. So our mission here is to really unpack the details of Amy's vanishing act from that Caribbean cruise back in '98. But also, maybe understand why this case still grabs people. We'll get into the theories, the investigations, unique challenges, and what this renewed spotlight might mean. Let's try and connect some dots. Okay, so let's set the scene. Who was Amy Bradley and, well, what happened?
Right. Amy was 23 years old. She was on a family vacation, supposed to be relaxing, right? March 1998 on the cruise ship Rhapsody of the Seas. And the core of it, the real mystery, is that she just vanished from the ship.
From the ship itself.
Exactly. Which, as director Ari Mark points out in the doc, is what makes it so baffling. You'd think a cruise ship is a contained environment. How does someone just disappear?
And this new Netflix series, Amy Bradley is Missing, from directors Ari Mark and Phil Lott, that's really thrown it back into the public consciousness, hasn't it? Generated a lot of new buzz.
It really has. And what's interesting, I think, is how the film handles the uncertainty. It doesn't just pick a theory and run with it.
Oh, yeah.
No, it actually explores several possibilities for what might have happened, which kind of tells you how few solid answers there really are.
Okay, so what are those main theories the documentary gets into?
Well, they look at 3 primary scenarios. First, the tragic possibility she accidentally fell overboard. Second, that she might have committed suicide. And third, the more sinister option. Foul play.
Foul play.
Yeah. And the series seems to give each one, proper weight. It really highlights the sheer ambiguity surrounding the whole thing.
And there's that one detail that came up early on, didn't it? The balcony door.
Ah, yes. The sliding door to her cabin's balcony was found open, ajar.
And that just opens up a whole can of worms.
Yeah.
Right. Instantly. Was it her choice to leave the room, or was she taken?
Exactly. That single detail is kind of the pivot point for the whole mystery. It keeps all those theories you mentioned on the table. If that door had been definitely locked from the inside or, forced from the outside, it would push the investigation in a much clearer direction.
But it wasn't. Just ajar.
Just ajar. That ambiguity is why it's remained unsolved for so long, I think.
It's genuinely chilling. So let's talk about the filmmakers. Why now? Why did Ari Mark and Phil Lott decide this was the time to revisit such a cold case?
Well, apparently they felt that a lot of the existing coverage was maybe a bit superficial, that I hadn't really dug into the complexities. But the real catalyst, it seems, was meeting Amy's parents, Ron and Iva Bradley. They met them in Virginia, heard their story firsthand, and, felt this profound sense that this family just deserved answers, deserved some kind of justice.
And there was that quote from Phil Lott, wasn't there? About the parents' pain and hope.
Yes, really powerful. He said something like, "These are people who are living with such pain every single day. It's a very real hope and possibility every single day that they could bring Amy home." It really underscores the human cost, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It makes you think about how you approach telling a story like this.
Yeah.
With that level of ongoing trauma for the family involved.
That's a really important point, because it's easy for these things to become sensationalized. But from what I saw, the filmmakers seemed quite careful to balance that deep empathy for the family with, sticking to the known facts of the investigation.
Right, keeping it grounded.
Yeah, acknowledging the hope, but also respecting the sort of investigative integrity needed to actually find answers, if they're out there.
And speaking of answers, you mentioned the series generated new buzz. Has it actually led to anything concrete? New tips, maybe?
Apparently, yes. The release on Netflix did generate some new information coming in. Now, the directors, understandably, aren't sharing specifics publicly,
Sure.
But they did emphasize how vital it is to properly vet everything. Any new lead needs careful checking and, crucially, has to involve law enforcement. Not every tip pans out, but you only need one good one.
Still, that's got to be encouraging for the family.
Yeah.
But this case has always had this other really difficult aspect, hasn't it? The witnesses.
Ah, yes, the sightings. People claiming they saw Amy, sometimes years later, but they didn't report it at the time.
Which is just mind-boggling from the outside. Why wait so long?
Well, the directors actually offered a pretty understandable take on that. It often comes down to basic human psychology, doesn't it?
How so?
Think about it. You see something, maybe a bit unusual, but you don't grasp its significance in that moment. It's only later, maybe you see a news report or this documentary, and suddenly it clicks. Wait a minute. That person I saw.
Ah, that makes sense. Hindsight.
Exactly. We often piece things together retrospectively. It's only when you get that context, that connection to Amy's story, that a seemingly random memory suddenly seems important.
And Phil Lott had that quote about it too, didn't he? Something about being on vacation.
Yeah, it was quite poignant. He said, "I don't think anyone's going on vacation expecting to walk into the middle of a massive mystery." And that's it, isn't it? You're there to relax, not to be a detective.
Right. Your guard is down. You're not analyzing every face you see.
Precisely.
Right.
So, years later, when you realize you might have seen something crucial, well, it's understandable why there's a delay. It highlights how vital early reporting is, sure, but also just how tricky it is for regular people to spot a piece of a puzzle when they don't even know there is a puzzle.
That's a huge challenge for investigators and for families, just desperate for any information, trying to find clues people don't even know they possess yet.
Absolutely.
So when we step back and look at Amy Bradley's case, especially through the lens of this new documentary, what are the big takeaways for you listening?
Well, I think it's a powerful reminder of how fragile things are. How a vacation, a single moment, can spiral into this decades-long question mark. And also the sheer resilience of hope, the family's drive for answers after all this time.
Yeah, that really comes through.
But it also raises this interesting question, I think. In today's world, we're just flooded with information, aren't we? So how do we, or how does anyone, tell the difference between just random noise and a genuinely crucial clue? And what role does something like this Netflix series play? Can renewed media attention actually shake loose secrets from a cold case? It really makes you ponder the power of focus, of attention, and that fundamental human need for closure.
And maybe something for you to think about. How many other little details, things people saw or heard years ago, might be sitting out there just waiting for the right connection to be made? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.